How do you plan the music for your church's worship gatherings? Do you coordinate with your pastor in selecting music? How many songs do you lead? Different themes, tempos, etc. Okay, so that's a kind of a bigger question. So for our church, and I know like one of the first things as a worship leader you kind of have to understand for me is like who your congregation is, who you're singing to. It's kind of like radio when stations are choosing songs for their playlist. They have to know the people who are tuning in and listening. So if you know who's walking in the doors of your church, then you know what type of songs and what type of content that they can engage with. And one of the things that is really important for me as we plan songs in church is that people, when we gather to sing, actually engage in singing. It's one of my favorite things to do, to stand and just sing together. So that's one of our priorities at church. Another priority that we have is this belief that what people sing eventually becomes what people believe. And what people believe becomes how they live their lives. So we feel like there's an incredible value, an incredible weight to the lyrics and the words that we put in people's mouths. So as I'm planning songs, I'm always conscious of what we're saying. I want to sing songs that are truthful about who God is, about what He's done, what He's promised to do for us. And if I can stick around those type of songs, I really, really try to. Every once in a while, there's some of those more personal I's and me's type songs, but honestly, I kind of try to stay away from them. So there's that philosophy, and honestly for me, I don't know about you, but when I sit through a church service, and now this isn't everybody, but I wind up walking out humming the last song that was played almost more than I walk out remembering what the pastor preached about. So when I think about those things, the weight of that responsibility really kind of lays heavy on me. So when we're planning these out, usually our pastor, and at our church we have many pastors, but right now we have 2 preaching pastors. We have weekly meetings that we come in, we talk about kind of what's going on, and we look to the future, and then talk really specifically about the weeks that are coming ahead. So months ahead of time, we'll sit down and talk about the broad kind of strokes of what we're going to be talking about, or what the series is over that specific Sunday. So usually I can have a really generic idea of what we're going to talk about. And then as we get closer, then I like to pop in offices a lot here. So if you see me like wandering around hallways, I can eat up half your day because I'll just jump in and just talk your ear off. So I like to do that with one of our preaching pastors and jump in, and then we can dive in and really talk about like the specifics of what we want to do. But generally, with the information they give me, I can get really close, and then I like to coordinate and collaborate really specifically on response songs. So generally in our service, we'll do an opener song. That's more kind of high energy. Right now we're doing it, I'm trying to do shorter length of songs, especially up front. So it kind of gets people in, it's a gathering song, and then we'll have a time of a welcome, whether it's me doing it or another pastor. And then I like to do about a 3-song worship set on Sunday mornings. And that can vary. A lot of times I like to have a hymn, just to accommodate that, and I love hymns, I grew up on them. And then just a mixture of songs from my childhood all the way up to, the newest song on the radio. But when I introduce new songs, I try not to do that a bunch. So if I introduce a song, usually I'll play it every week for a month, and then I'll play it for another month every other week, and then it kind of goes into, well, that worked or it didn't, so we'll either continue to play it or we won't. And if we continue to play it, then it'll kind of go into our regular rotation. So it really takes me a long time to introduce that new music. But as we do that, I get that information from the pastors, and then I look to the songs that we have in and try to sync it up just the very best I can to what we're going to speak about that day. And sometimes it's a home run, sometimes it's not, and sometimes we strike out. Sometimes I think it's going to be the best service, and I get up there and it's like, gosh, what happened? And sometimes I walk off stage thinking that may have been the worst moment of music I've ever experienced in my life, and I get emails and phone calls saying, how God moved, and it's just one of those things that week to week, you have to be faithful and just knowing that God's called you to do it, that He's given you the message and the songs that He wants you to sing, and be faithful in it, and then get up and do it the next week. So I hope that maybe answers some of that question.